I feel very conflicted about publishing this video because of FI reasons. I genuinely care about Rachel's dad. I don't see him as a friend like he said to me. I see him as family, which means, it's like no matter what happens, we're going to be there for him, regardless. And anyway, what I really want is to have a conversation where we all are honest and sit around and cry. And then Rachel said,
like I said, at least then there's acknowledgement that happened, and then I feel it just like levels things out a lot with what's been going on. And I want to cry about it too. People think that I'm like strong because I haven't, I don't go up to them crying, that I don't care. But the truth is that like, when people lie, I don't deal with that. So.
Well, what you indicated before is that you do and want to forgive your dad.
Yeah, I do. I do want to forgive him, and I do want to be able to move on from it. But I haven't gotten an apology.
Well, in general, it's like what I want is an open, honest conversation where all parties are willing to be vulnerable, and it's like full of teeth.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want that too. I really want a candid conversation where we can just, air out all the dirty laundry. And, I care about both my dad and Eric, and I want things to be, good between them, because it is family.
It's an absolute value for me in the sense that the reason I get so angry is because I can't believe this kind of awfulness exists in the world. I'm just, on my experience. But I also don't want to make them hurt anymore. It's like I saw at the wedding on both Rachel's mom's face and Rachel's dad's face a deep sadness, and I don't want to pile on.
No, that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking to pile on.
And this thing happened primarily because I think her dad decided to run interference on behalf of her brother.
Yeah.
Her brother has provided not 1 millimeter of anything. In fact, has desperately avoided even the slightest possibility of acknowledging anything. So, this is the one I was trying to work on during this wedding. Send him a text to give him an indication in a sort of polite, gentle way. Hey, you need to apologize to your sister. Here's a good way that we could meet together. We could smoke a joint together. It would be a formal sort of acknowledgement that yes, you were wrong about this whole thing.
Right.
And but he wanted nothing to do with that. So he instead wanted to try to schmooze me. Like, well, I've got edibles. I'll bond with you, Eric, and we'll ignore Rachel again, right? I mean, whose side am I on? Who's teammate?
Right.
Who's my teammate? Why? How? There's a fundamental presumption that I don't love Rachel behind that text.
You love me the most. I mean, I feel like I am well loved.
And the thing is, I can see how much your dad loves you. But I don't know any other way to deal with things except the correct way. It's how I was raised. I'll explain it in this video. I guess we're gonna publish this. This will be a good intro for it.
Yeah.
Here come the waterworks. Hi friends, host Eric here, talking today about family dynamics, what comprises healthy family relations and what comprises unhealthy family relations, and what can be done about such things? So, my central thesis here is one main thesis, but really a two-part thesis. Part one of the thesis is justice, when properly understood, and most people don't properly understand the term, of course, but justice is always attained for somebody at the expense of somebody. In other words, if there's a victimizer who victimizes somebody, justice is attained for the victim at the expense of the victimizer. In other words, remediation or a remedy to the inequity caused, the lack of equilibrium caused by the wrongdoer's behavior is rectified by attaining justice at the expense of the wrongdoer. This is what justice means. I saw somebody in a live stream the other day indicate the exact opposite. I didn't comment on it or catch it soon enough or something. I think I might have seen it in a replay. Or somebody's like, I don't get why people say justice for something. Justice is justice or it's not. That's it. Well, no, justice is only meaningful in situations where somebody's been unfairly wronged, and there's an equilibrium of justice that's been disrupted by that and needs to be returned by some sort of remediation, right? So, and then, of course, when people badly misuse the term, what they do is they talk about things like social justice, meaning it's not fair that some people are poor or homeless, therefore it's unjust. Well, no, it may not be consistent with what we deem an overall just society, that some members of society are homeless. In other words, a world in which some people are filthy rich and some people are homeless is not consistent with an overarching principle of fairness, but justice doesn't work like that. So you have to find out who's to blame for something before you can attain justice for something. Alright, having established that as thesis one, thesis two is all unhealthy family dynamics emerge from the same exact place, and that is lying. It's always the same thing. It's always lying. And lying comes in lots of different forms. So, when party A wrongs party B, well, let me give you an example. When I was in a relationship prior to this one with Kimberly, who had experienced a lot of toxic family stuff when she was a little kid, which meant she got BPD and was basically unrelationshipable as a consequence. Now, Rachel didn't experience this stuff as a kid. She experienced it once she got her first diagnosis of bipolar. From that point forward, she was subjected to ongoing abuse and delegitimization. So, the truth example with Kimberly I want to bring up is a weird one, actually. It's, at one point, she said one of a myriad number of mean things she said to me. And I said, Kimberly, that hurt my feelings. You know, you really hurt my feelings. And she said, well, you're just being too sensitive. Okay, so it's a good example because she was lying at that point. I wasn't being too sensitive. She had said something mean that hurt my feelings. Having my feelings hurt by that thing was appropriate, and her response was lying. She might not have thought it was lying, she might not have been aware fully, but it was a lie to say that I was being too sensitive. And therefrom emerges all bad family behavior. It's all rooted in dishonesty. So, for example, Rachel's sister, who you may have noted is absent from all of these critiques because she wasn't guilty of these things. You know, Rachel's not one to spill a bunch of stories on me about what happened to her. This stuff emerged gradually as I kind of pulled it out of her, and things became revealed to me, not by her telling me, but by me discovering them. She was smart in that regard. She never tried to shape my position on things. She let me shape my own position on things based on what I saw. And the thing is, so yesterday, I guess maybe now it's 2 days ago, Kat, Rachel's sister, fucked up. She sent a text talking shit about her mom. She meant to send it to maybe Rachel or Anthony or something, but she sent it to her mom. Okay. And then, you know, Rachel mentioned tonight, our mom had said she didn't want to go to that Friday night thing because she had a headache. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe she had a headache. She's like, no, it's because of that text my sister sent. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Obviously, what happened there? What should mom have said? Kat, you really hurt my feelings with this text. Because that was the truth. And that was fine. She should have had her feelings hurt, and Kat should be held responsible for that in some regard. Instead, let's just brush it under the rug and pretend it never happened. Well, that's where festering, rotten, gangrenous family flesh festers. It's underneath these bandages that are designed to cover up shit that's gangrenous and pretend it's just a quick healing scratch. It doesn't work like that. The only way to heal a family is with the truth. You have to, so in other words, for Rachel's family to heal, Rachel's dad is going to need to call Rachel and say, these are all the fucked up shit I did. I'm really sorry. I see now I was wrong. I can, there's plenty of reasons why he struggled with this. He's an ENFP. ENFPs will compromise their way to the devil's lap because at the end of the day, they don't really operate in terms of binaries, But there are lots of situations in life where cutting the baby in half is not a good solution, right? Some things it's fine. Like, this person did 3/4 of the work, this person did 1/4 of the work. They're arguing now because they're both getting paid the same. Well, let's compromise. We agree he did more, but you were here the same amount of time, so let's give him something. Fine. Like that's an appropriate kind of area to compromise. Whether or not you should make your daughter live outside 12 hours a day like a dog because she smoked pot, well, no, you don't get to then say, well, I was advocating for just 9 hours. No, there's no acceptable, correct part on that side of the equation at all. It's a binary matter. You can't do that. It's fucked up. Period. Now, granted, I know Rachel's dad was, in some sense, the one person among the three that I've mentioned and called out here who really loved his daughter and struggled with this some. So I see him as having a good amount of potential for redemption. But redemption comes when you stop lying. When you stop trying to sweep shit under the rug. Every time somebody's victimized in a family, a bird dies. Falls from the sky and lands on the carpet. Lands on the rug in the middle of the dining room floor. Now you got two choices. You can either talk it out and figure out why this bird is dead and resolve the matter. Like in my family, the way shit happened was this. If somebody did something wrong, or there was a conflict between two people, between me and my mom, me and my dad, or whatever, we might get mad and yell a little bit, and then we take turns acknowledging which things we were responsible for being wrong for, and then we cry and hug and say, I love you. And there was no lying or hiding shit. That's a healthy family. People are trying to be fair to each other, and people have each other's backs. What does unhealthy behavior look like? It looks like individuals trying to exploit leverage points against other individuals to force this or that or the other thing. People don't like being forced to do shit. It's not healthy to force people to do shit. Now, it is healthy to do what I have accidentally done here, which is allow
somebody who's guilty of wrongdoing but wants to do well to paint themselves into a corner where now they have only two choices. So Rachel's dad has painted himself into a corner now. He has two choices. He can call his daughter this week, articulate a complete and thorough list of his wrongdoings, acknowledge he was wrong, and try to make amends for those wrongdoings where possible. Okay? Or he can disown his daughter. Now, he might try to just ostracize me, but that's not really going to work, because Rachel has no reason to trust him, and she's got lots of reason to trust me. She's got no reason to trust her mom. She's got no reason to trust her brother. She's got shit tons of reason to trust me. And that's just not in any dispute. So, is it going to work for him to ostracize me and still retain Rachel in his life? Probably not. If I'm not there to protect, she's not very naturally good at defending herself. You know, especially after 10 years of being treated like that, she's habituated to saying I'm sorry first, and then figuring out if she actually did anything wrong. So now, Mike, you are being forced by your own behavior, not by me, by your own choice to threaten to ostracize me, to make a hard decision. Do you want to cling so stubbornly to your wrongness, continue to cling so stubbornly to it, that you choose it over your own daughter? Or not? And remember, I'm not making this happen. You are. You didn't have to approach me that way tonight, full of pride and anger, when you have no business feeling either of them. You could have approached me with humility. Now, I know one thing Rachel's dad and I both have in common. We're both Christians. As a consequence, we both know that we are all sinners and we all make mistakes, and that God forgives us anyway. If and when we approach him with humility in our heart and a genuine desire to go forth and sin no more, and a willingness to repent, to make amends for the wrongdoing. During this phone call, he said, stop trying to be a hero, Eric. I'm not trying to be a hero. It's much simpler than that. I'm pissed. I wake up mad in the morning. I wake up mad in the morning at Anthony. Sometimes, for a long time, I used to wake up in the morning angry, often at the Pratt Police Department for their horrible mistreatment of Taylor. And I'd call that fucking DA down there and try to leave messages, and of course she desperately avoided talking to me. Of course. People hate being held accountable. But, to be fully human, you need to learn to be accountable. You need to learn to be honest. Now, so I'm not trying to be a hero, but I am God's fiery sword. What I mean by that is, the beautiful thing about God's fiery sword is that the only time anyone's ever allowed to wield it is when they're completely right and facing against somebody who's completely wrong. The other wonderful thing about it is, it only burns the wicked. Only the wicked are bothered by my truth speaking. Only the wicked are bothered by my calls for justice. For those who are not wicked, the fiery sword of God feels delightfully cool. You don't need to sacrifice any of your pride or dignity to me. You can have these conversations with Rachel. I will confirm with her afterwards that you met my criteria, because that's the only way that you're going to get redemption. You need to call Rachel humbly and offer her your full and unconditional apology and acknowledgement of the wrongness of the paradigm you've been hammering at her for years. So when you do that, then we can talk person to person again. Then you're not just a sinner trying to shovel dead birds under a carpet until the rotting morass of fetid flesh makes the entire room stink of death.